Good evening and welcome to the 12th Annual Celebration of Suburban Diversity. I'm Larry Levy, Executive Dean of Hofstra's National Center for Suburban Studies, and I'm your host at this first and hopefully last virtual edition. Now, over the years, the celebration has brought together thousands of people and raised millions of dollars for diversity-related scholarships, research, and community engagement. Hundreds of our partner organizations and people have benefited, many in struggling places where the center does so much work. Last year alone, more than 500 people crammed into Crest Hollow, many in colorful ethnic dress, to celebrate diversity's power and promise. Yeah, I miss it too, all that energy and excitement, but COVID or no COVID, we decided the show must go on. There was no way we could not focus on equity and inclusion, not this year, not after our communities of color were so disparately devastated due to inequities that never should have been tolerated in the first place. There was no way we could not give voice to the passionate protests for racial justice. There was no way we could not show support for our Asian neighbors who suffered economic and other discrimination during the pandemic. And there was no way that we could not celebrate the essential workers, disproportionately Black and Latinx, who are still putting their health and lives on the line for us. No, this show had to go on. We know that diversity is the key to our social and economic success. We know that embracing diversity, including the disabilities and LGBTQ communities, is everybody's business, and that it's good for everybody's business. Our new immigrants are the new customers, investors, employees, and employers, whose inspiration and perspiration renews neighborhoods and re-energizes the economy. We know we can't afford to leave anyone behind, not if we're going to emerge whole after the chaos and uncertainty of COVID-19. So no, we're not live from a ballroom, but please sit back, maybe pour yourself a glass of wine or even something stronger, and enjoy this evening.
This will be the day when all of God's children be able to sing with new meaning, my country tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghanies of Pennsylvania, Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Once a letter and a letter on a string will hold forever humanity, spellbound words, possession of the beggar and the king.
Sa ni sa ni da pa ga pa ni da. Sa ni sa ni da pa ga pa ni da.
언제나 마음이 변할 날 없어 불상일세.
Don't you just love them? The celebration of suburban diversity's greatest hits. So this is when I usually go on and on about all the National Center's recent diversity-related research and engagement. And as usual, the Center's professors, students, and community partners did a lot. There was our blockbuster teacher hiring study, our first ever virtual summer camp for underserved kids, our nationally recognized network to aid minority entrepreneurs, our partnerships to reduce childhood obesity in Roosevelt, our diversity-related scholarships and internships that this event supports. But I'll stop for now because my most important role here is to thank a bunch of people, including the professors and students who do the hard work at the center. People like Academic Director Dr. Chris Neat, and Health Equity Leader Dr. Martine Hackett, and Sustainability Director Dr. Sandy Guerin. And then there's Ina Katz and Debbie Tinarello, really the executive producers of this event. They made it happen. I also want to thank individuals and organizations who so generously support our work, especially those who've donated to this event year after year. People like Scott Reckler at RXR Realty and Bob Cattell, the former CEO of National Grid USA. Scott and Bob are this year's celebration co-chairs. And people like Mike Dowling at Northwell Health and Ty and Tony Wong of WAC Lighting, Chris Hahn of PSE&G Long Island, and Linda Arman at Bethpage Federal Credit Union. And speaking of leaders, my job tonight includes thanking and introducing the man whose vision conjured up the idea of a National Center for Suburban Studies, and whose leadership has been essential to the existence and success of both the center and this celebration. I give you Hofstra President Stuart Rabinowitz.
Thank you, Larry, for that kind introduction. I am so proud of the National Center for Suburban Studies. It is not just because it was my idea, which it was before I actually became president when I was dean of the law school, but I thought that in America's first suburbs, there ought to be an academic center focusing on that. And the smartest thing I did is when I actually became president, I hired the Energizer Bunny, otherwise known as Larry Levy, to take the lead on it. And Larry was smart enough and moral enough to know that we had to have part of the National Center for Suburban Studies dedicate itself to celebrating the incredible diversity that we have on Long Island and in the greater metropolitan community. And through this celebration over the years and every year, we've tried to emphasize how important diversity and inclusion is to all of us, to our community, to our economy, to all of us in all of our ways who call Long Island our home. And at the same time, this celebration also raises critical funds for scholarships and for funding various community initiatives, which the center has undertaken and will undertake. And we don't need a special reminder, or at least we shouldn't need a special reminder in 2020 about how much work all of us have to do to make our country truly inclusive and equal for all of our people. And if 2020 has done anything, it has convinced us that we all need to take a hard and a long look at all of our institutions, including our universities and our society, to continue to do everything we can to make everyone included and make everyone comfortable. And that is why I am delighted that even in this pandemic, which has, spoiled so many plans and so many things we used to do, that Larry has still found a way to celebrate the culture and the people of Long Island suburbs. And we were reminded how many people continue and must continue to work for a more just society. Corporate leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, students, university presidents, community activists, et cetera, et cetera. So I simply want to thank the committee and the sponsors who made this celebration this year possible, and whose dedication over the years continues to fund the great work that the National Center for Suburban Study does. And I thank all of you who are watching for continuing to celebrate the strength of Long Island that is created by diversity and inclusion. And to say to you, since this is actually my last year as president, that it is this year and has been every year a privilege to play a part in this celebration. So thank you very much to everybody involved.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul. First, thanks to the co-chairs of this celebration of suburban diversity. I also want to thank Hofstra President Stuart Rabinowitz, who is doing an outstanding job as co-chair of the Long Island Regional Economic Development Council, and who I believe is one of the longest serving chairs in the state. Thanks, Mr. President. I also want to recognize Lawrence Levy, the Executive Dean and the National Center for Suburban Studies. The contributions both of you have made to ensure that our economic strategy for Long Island addresses the systemic racial and cultural barriers to social and economic justice are absolutely groundbreaking. Our state's incredible diversity of people and our inclusiveness have long been heralded as core strengths. And the multicultural diversity and the changing demographics of the suburbs in places like Long Island, home to our nation's very first suburbs, are shaping a new economy in a profound way. I recall the president trying to appeal to suburbs as if they were still the same homogeneous communities of the 1950s and 60s. Not sure last time he visited Long Island suburbs, but that does not describe the beautiful fabric of diverse religions, culture, and race that now blanket our suburban communities. I also want to thank you for using this event to show appreciations to our frontline workers during the pandemic. On behalf of Governor Cuomo, myself, and all New Yorkers, I join you in thanking our essential workers who have carried us through this crisis by going to work every single day despite the risks. They are the real heroes of this pandemic. One thing this pandemic has done is shown us who is truly essential in our economy. And I assure you that pre-COVID, the people working in our hospitals, transit workers, grocery and pharmacy workers, and delivery people were never properly acknowledged for the critical roles they have always played. And as we think of these courageous individuals, we know that over 40% of our frontline workers are people of color. They are also disproportionately impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of their exposure from their jobs in their communities and in terms of having the highest infection and mortality rates. And 77% of healthcare workers are women, and 2/3 of essential workers are women. So I've asked from the very beginning, who's watching their children when they are out on the front lines? They can't even count on the children being occupied in a classroom most of the day. So it's not an exaggeration to say that since COVID, the accessibility and affordability of childcare went from being a bad situation to a complete disaster. So as we build back better, we also want to level the playing field for our entrepreneurs and small businesses looking to establish themselves in the suburbs, adding to the amazing diversity of these communities. And again, I thank everyone here for engaging in a healthy debate about how we can ensure New York suburbs continue to be a magnet for diverse populations and ensuring that they thrive. The pandemic has driven more people from densely populated urban areas, thus creating new, totally unexpected opportunities for suburbs. Embracing this moment to ensure equality and access to opportunity can be transformative for our state, and perhaps one of the few positive outgrowths from the COVID-19 pandemic. It's now up to all of us to make that become a reality. Thank you.
I have been involved with this organization for about 12 years, but 15 years ago I was elected to be a regent from Long Island, and as a result I get to visit almost all of the schools on Long Island. We have over 500 schools, over 125 districts. The first year I went to one of the first districts was Central Islip, a school of high needs. And I was lucky enough to do there what I've done 200 times since at different elementary schools, and that is to read poems to 3rd and 4th graders. It's the perk, the only perk I get as a regent. And I love doing it, and it was so wonderful to hear these kids interact, they get it. I read poems that were difficult and they understood them, and they really had a good time, and I had a great time, and that's why I've done it so many times since. But then I went to a ninth grade class the superintendent put me into, and there was nothing going on. I mean, there was very little interaction between teacher and students, and I was appalled because I wondered what happened to these great students from 3rd and 4th grade. I then met with a group of honor students at Central Islip and asked them why. And these kids were very honest and transparent with me, and they told me the reasons why there is such a gap between elementary and middle school. So I was very depressed walking out of that meeting with the honor students, and walked into hearing a choir singing. And I love choral music, and so I stuck my head in. I figured it was a college choir because they were very, very good. And I find out that this is a group of students from Central Islip, virtually all minority students, that were training to go to Salzburg, Austria for a Mozart bicentennial. And they were fabulous. And when they were finished, I said, how many of you are graduating high school? This is a school that had about, at that point, a 60% or so graduation rate. Every single hand went up. And I said, why you and not your peers? And the little girl stood up and she said, well, we love our music. We love the chorus. And our teacher says we can't stay in the chorus unless we do our work. And he calls us once a week to do our work. I've been in, numerous reform programs on the Regents for 15 years, and nothing is compared to the simple logic of having kids come to school for what they want to come to school for and have a caring teacher. That's the way somebody succeeds in education. In our 2 systems of education on Long Island, one for the haves, one for the have-nots, one for the minority, one for the white community, it's really remarkable how many differences there are. And that the arts can transcend those in certain cases is remarkable. And that's why I think what Larry's group does and the Suburban Studies is so important, because we really need to try to address those problems. And hopefully we will. One way is certainly through the arts, which I will continue to be promoting. And any other ways that people can do it need to be done.
Roll, chariots, roll, oh, keep on rolling, never despair. Roll, chariots, roll, oh Lord, keep on rolling, never tire. Roll, chariots, roll, then I'll be safe when the world's on fire. Oh, roll, chariots, roll, roll, chariots, roll, oh, roll, chariots, roll to heavenly home up in the sky. Oh, roll, chariots.
And as you look across this room with people from all different worlds, all different parts of the world, different ethnic groups, religious groups, etc., etc., it's like a mosaic. And a great community is, in essence, a mosaic. And if you can just for the moment imagine a mosaic, each individual part has its own personality, its own distinctiveness. But the brilliance of each individual part is only overshadowed by the beauty of the whole. That's the idea of community. A great community is one that respects the brilliance of each individual part, celebrates it, but understands that together and combined and integrated, we are a much better place.
As an immigrant, as a son of 2 hardworking immigrants, as a physician, to be here to represent Nassau University Medical Center, most importantly, as a father. I was born in Haiti, but due to dictatorship, my family was forced to flee to the Congo. And again, we had to flee, but this time to escape death and destruction because of a civil war.
33 years ago, a group of Hofstra students were sitting on a van in traffic in Hempstead. They saw that day a young man taking food out of the garbage can to eat, and they were horrified. They saw something, and then they said something. From that first seeing something and saying something, a single organization was started, which is now the Inn, where millions of meals have been served to whomever is in need, and people of all faiths, races, and nationalities have joined together to help.
Diversity not only makes for richer communities, both socially and economically, but is also good for business because it attracts the workforce that companies know they need to succeed. To put it simply, we believe if we build it, they will come. In the process, helping both to revitalize our historic downtowns and to create broader economic vitality and cultural vibrancy that will re-energize suburbia for the 21st century.
Great stuff, just great. But we've come to expect that because over the years, the celebration of suburban diversity has featured compelling addresses by influential leaders who shared their vision of a more equitable and inclusive Long Island. One of the most stirring, as you saw, was delivered by Scott Reckler, a steadfast supporter of the center in this event. What drives Scott's commitment to equity and inclusion is his belief, reflected in RXR's motto, doing good and doing well means doing better, that businesses can only succeed if the entire community succeeds. Scott Reckler.
Our model is not only focused on understanding our customers better than anyone else, but it's being an integrated part of our communities. RXR made it our goal to actually focus on making all of our communities stronger, more sustainable, and an emphasis on supporting and investing in underserved communities, providing people that traditionally wouldn't have opportunities to participate in the expansions that we're making in those communities, the ability to be at the forefront of participating in those opportunities. We believe that we only do as well as our communities do. And so our foundational value set across RXR is doing good and doing well means doing better. And we have that embedded in our DNA. I'd like to thank Larry Levy for hosting this event again this year. And more importantly, Larry, I'd like to thank you for your leadership with the National Center for Suburban Studies and hosting this diversity dinner year after year. You had been way in front of our community, ensuring that we were all focused on the importance of diversity. And after the events of this past year, it's even become more pronounced, and it becomes clear that we all need to be intentional on trying to create a more diverse, accepting, and equitable community. Hofstra and Suburban Studies program have really focused on Long Island and other suburban areas where the systemic racism and the progress that we're all making as a community is very much tied to your leadership and guidance through this process and dealing with these difficult challenges. Hofstra has been an incredible force of change for Long Island, and it could not have been done without the leadership of Stuart Rabinowitz, the president, who's retiring this year. Stuart, you have been an absolute force of nature, someone that I look up to, a mentor to so many of us, and someone that cares so dearly about not only Hofstra, but the entire Long Island community. You'll be missed, you'll be thought about a lot, and I'm sure you'll be turned to a lot for advice and guidance as we go forward. Larry, Stuart, and all of us here celebrating suburban diversity. It's more important than ever that we come together to work for a more equitable, fair community for us and for future generations of Long Islanders. Thank you all for all that you do.
There are still 34 states where you're allowed to be fired from your jobs or kicked out of your apartment just because you're gay, even in this day and age. But we've made tremendous progress. I'm proud of the small role that I've played, at least here locally, in advancing the cause.
The great poet Maya Angelou once said, "It is time for parents to teach young people early on that in diversity there is beauty and there is strength." This evening, at this celebration of suburban diversity, we embrace this ideal. We are all part of a beautiful patchwork that comprises the Long Island community.
Today is really auspicious day in Indian calendar. It's called Diwali. Diwali is a festival of lights that is being celebrated every year by approximately 800 million Indians worldwide, where we celebrate meeting friends and family, and we do firecrackers. We also put the diya, which is a light, all over our house. We light our house.
I'm so proud to be here today, and I'm so appreciate for everything everybody done for today. Without you guys, we're not going to be recognized. We're not going to understand each other. We don't have the same life like everybody have right now. Thank you, and I appreciate that.
They're all heroes, our essential workers, but the ones most at risk were, are, and will be those providing direct care for COVID-19 patients, the doctors, nurses, and others at our hospitals and nursing homes. Every day they risk their lives to save lives, not only as healers and comforters, but as surrogate family for those isolated from loved ones. Who can forget the image of a healthcare worker holding a smartphone for a patient to share their last words? The physical and emotional toll on these professionals will be enormous and scar many of them for the rest of their lives.
It had to be, I would say, around March, April. Working in the COVID decision unit, we were seeing the numbers. They were high.
Overcrowded, so many patients coming in all the time. People were very nervous. We kind of didn't know what to expect. Very, very, very overwhelming, especially for me, fresh out of residency.
I think what hit me the hardest was just hearing about how many people were so sick in the hospital.
And then the pure numbers of patients passing away, it was just heartbreaking. And they were unable to have their family in to protect the staff as well as the patients.
We're prepared to deal with it, deal with death and dying and sick patients, but not on the level of what we had to deal with this pandemic.
With the shortage of PPE across the country, it was very difficult to get used to that. But I think we handled it really well with what we had.
And I could say I've been a physician for 24 years, and this is probably the most difficult thing I've had to deal with in my whole career.
They were exhausted. You know, you're working long hours, picking up shifts, trying to help out as much as possible. You have staff and coworkers getting sick. You know, it's more of a family too. We work with these people every day. So to see some of our fellow employees get sick, their family members get sick, you know, you're seeing people pass away, people that you're trying to help. There's nothing you can do. No one knows what to do.
Many of us were concerned for our own health and the health of our families. And this may be the first time in our careers that really became an issue for us.
It was bad. And honestly, when we peaked in the early spring months, I spent most of my time in employee health dealing with actual employees. And it was hard because as healthcare providers, we forget to take care of ourselves and our own health.
I was actually working clinically, and my employees actually came to me. They said, "Dr. Booten, you can't work anymore. We have to take you away from the clinical environment. We're going to cover your shifts for you right now. We need you as a leader upstairs to be able to guide us to where we're going." That was enlightening. It's like, wow, they're actually looking out for me. So my job at that point was to make sure that I looked out for them.
And I think it was difficult for us as healthcare workers emotionally to have to know that we were in the height of a pandemic and we all had to pull together.
So we had to boost our own happiness at that time because it was a dark place. The Air Force, they flew over the hospital to help.
People from outside the community, whether they gave us food, whether they gave us a honking of the horn, We were acknowledged in so many ways here at NUMC.
It was nice to see that people appreciate us, because you kind of lose that when you're working day in, day out, long hours, you're tired, you're exhausted, you need the boost of morale. So it made us feel proud.
People go into medicine with the expectation that you are going to serve people who are in need. You never know exactly what that's going to mean.
I'm proud to be an employee at Nassau University Medical Center. We serve a unique role in taking care of the underserved. And with limited resources, we do a great job. And the pandemic or any other situation is not too big for us. We have handled many different difficult situations before the pandemic.
We do outstanding work. And I can tell you that because my family members actually use the facility on a regular basis. I use the facility.
We will continue to do our best for the community, and we have the expertise here at NUMC to do a great job, and I'm thankful that I get to work here.
Well, we're already at the halfway mark, which is a good time to again recognize our sponsors, as well as the Embracing Our Differences banners that we see at every diversity dinner. I'll be back in a minute with more musical performances and stories of diversity in action, as well as high school diversity essay contest sponsored by Bethpage Federal Credit Union. Now, this also might be a good time to stop the video and click on the donation button. A good chunk of the money we raise goes to diversity-related scholarships and research and community groups. We can all use your help with our mission of promoting diversity, inclusivity, and tolerance. So how many of you are still thanking the people who stock the shelves and check out your order at the cash register or deliver it to your home? Now that things have opened up a bit, it's easy to forget or take them for granted, and that would be a shame. Essential workers came in all sectors, but those who kept us supplied with food and other necessities risked and still risk their lives for our comfort. Listen to President John Durso and members of Local 338 of the United Food and Commercial Workers.
We represent many of the essential workers here in the New York metropolitan area. So many of them work in supermarkets and pharmacies. During this national crisis, all members went to work every day at their own risk, at jeopardy of their own health, to serve the public, to take care of the needs so that there would be a certain amount of normalcy. within the lives of our customers and your families. We're very proud of the work that they have done. We are very proud of their dedication to their customers, to their community. You're going to hear a little bit from some of our members, and they'll tell you their stories about what we've experienced during this crisis.
So things have changed so much in the last 8 months that our new normal is so much different than what it used to be. Our store, since the pandemic, has taken all the safety precautions. Since the pandemic started, we have plastic partitions pretty much set up in every service department, as well as all the registers. The customer reaction has been pretty much 50-50. As far as respect from the customers, we have noticed a new respect that in the past we didn't have. Being labeled as essential workers, the customers have taken that to heart, and they have thanked us during their shopping trips. And as essential workers, we do appreciate that.
I was worried, I was scared for not only myself and my family, for everybody else, because we had elderly customers, the sick and the handicapped coming in trying to get their products, their food. And some of them were very appreciative to us coming to work, serving them. Some of them were not happy because we didn't have all the products that they needed on the shelves. We had lines because we weren't prepared for this, but Stop and Shop tried to give us some more hours. We were able to get them, but because of the crowd, it was difficult. The union has been very helpful to us. They fight for our hazardous pay. They gave us masks, hand sanitizer. We would like our customers to know that they always come first, and we would like them to treat us as human beings. We put our lives on the line, not only for ourselves, our family.
I hope you have enjoyed hearing some of the stories from our members. I hope you also remember that we are still in the middle of this crisis. And each day our members continue to go to work to serve the public, to take care of you, to take care of your families. And it is incumbent upon all of us to take care of them and their families and their loved ones. And the best way we do that is by showing them the respect of wearing a mask. It's great to say thank you. It's great to tell them how much you appreciate what they have done. But by observing social distancing, by wearing a mask, you protect you protect them, you protect their loved ones. And that is absolutely essential.
The reality, the truth, is that diversity and sustainability go hand in hand. Social equity and environmental stewardship are more than just nice things to do. They're crucial to creating a sustainable economy. If everybody is not participating as fully as possibly, if every man, woman, and especially child is not healthy and well educated, if they don't believe that they have a real chance to succeed, then we all are in big trouble as a region and as a nation.
We have to wake up and extend that hand to your fellow man, to your neighbor, and say, we are all created equal, and we all deserve the same things in life. So I admire Hofstra for taking the lead, and I thank you very much for this award. Thank you.
We are a nation of immigrants, built by people all over the world who heard Emma Lazarus calling and sought a better life in a new land. Immigrants contributed immeasurably to their adopted country in every field, in every way. And it is indisputable that the United States is the better for it.
The public policies here on Long Island are not unlike any other place. They need to be changed in many aspects. The institutional policies need also to be addressed, and I hope that we can count all of you as new partners in that effort. Thank you so much.
One of our most important research projects revealed a glaring lack of minority teachers on Long Island. Professor Bill Mangino and I found that in a region where 45% of the students are Black and Latinx and Asian, only 8% of the teachers are non-white. 61% of all school buildings don't have a single Black teacher. 48% don't have a Latinx. And research shows that all students lose from the lack of diverse role models. Now, during the pandemic, these disparities were on shameful display. We know that underfunded schools struggle in the best of times. But once they were closed down, many students lacked the technology to learn at home. And the burden of keeping them from falling irretrievably into the digital divide, especially English language learners, fell heavily on teachers. Organizations like the Long Island Latino Teachers Association solicited donations of computers. They took on the task of informing and soothing frightened immigrant families. They even visited the homes of students in the hottest of COVID hotspots.
I don't believe anyone was expecting that the schools were going to close for the rest of the school year. Once we realized we were not coming back, we kind of surveyed among our schools and our students, and that's when we realized most of our kids do not own a laptop, do not have a computer at home.
It was tough, especially with the population that we deal with. Students didn't have the technology available to them, and they didn't have the internet access either.
A lot of teachers who may not have understood family dynamics or the context in which their scholars were dealing with.
Many of our children go home and their families are able to provide them with food and other essential things, but not devices, not technology, not Wi-Fi, because the priorities are others that involve their survival.
There is a lot in terms of the social, emotional piece of this. Isolation, sadness, bereavement with so many deaths.
And as an organization, we got together and said, we must address this, learning must continue, and we have to do whatever we can to provide these students and families with the tools.
This opened my eyes to even advocate more for these students and to actually take action.
The first 20 computers we delivered was with the help of Health First. The next 20 computers that we were able to give were possible with the generosity of the Labor Council for Latin American Advancement. After that, we partnered with the Long Island Black Educators Association.
There was a need where we weren't just delivering Chromebooks, we were also dealing with food insecurity. And how do we now tackle that as a school district, right? What do school districts do to do that? And now it becomes our responsibility.
We had to take the risks in the sense of going to their neighborhoods and going to their communities and meeting their needs.
So we not only delivered Chromebooks, but we delivered food. That's humbling to be able to see.
And I always tell them proud, I also was in your seat. I was a bilingual student. I had to go through learning a second language. I went to college and I got my degree, and look where I am now. If you see me as a teacher, you also have that same possibility.
I don't know that we see ourselves as heroes. The true heroes are the families who we serve.
If not for the Long Island Latino Teachers Association and our partners, these students will still have no devices to continue their education.
We were out there and the team was ready, and families stood online to get their weekly community distribution.
The joy, the gratitude by the students, by the parents was very moving.
When I have a family, a student, a parent call and say, thanks for the food box. Oh, thank you, we finally got our devices. It makes me proud, but more than that, it humbles me and it teaches me that community is everything.
The term most vulnerable is sometimes overused to describe people who need help caring for themselves. It's no competition, but the developmentally disabled, especially the increasing number who are elderly with no families, could be the most vulnerable of all. And that makes the people who care for them night and day at group homes and other facilities very essential workers, like the dedicated men and women of United Cerebral Palsy of Long Island.
The people with disabilities we support want to work, want to earn a fair salary, they want to have friends, they want to engage in activities in the community that are important to them. They truly want to live a life without limits. That's really what we do here at UCP of Long Island. It's what all of our staff do, and it is really what we strive to do as an organization. And in a time in our country where diversity and inclusion is a major focus, we can never forget about people with disabilities and the place that they have in our society. They truly have so much to offer the fabric of our society that we need to ensure that we're continuing to support them so that they can have full inclusion. We've relied on our staff to provide services to individuals with disabilities that may have been sick, may have been at the risk of getting sick, and really have done so with such grace and dedication, and really have been a true example of how resilient our organization and our field is. But we are not the only family that those individuals have. Their families were equally worried about them, and I think we gave them some peace of mind that people were cared for and taken care of. We listened to them, We tried to come up with creative ways to have them contact their family members through Zoom calls, through phone calls, through backyard visits, through all the things that we could to give them some comfort and some peace of mind. We saw amazing things happen during this very challenging time, including some of our day staff being redeployed to our residential programs, our residential staff working extra hours, working tirelessly, dealing with PPE, which was something they weren't used to really ensure that we were carrying out our mission. In addition, we tried to keep celebrating all of the great things that happen in life despite the challenges. We had students graduate from our children's center. We celebrated them with drive-by parades. We celebrated the resiliency and dedication of our direct care staff by having parades for them as well. It really helped us all pull through together. Because we operate residential programs, closing is not an option for us. Through the pandemic, we continued to support 220 people, over 31 group homes, and we really did that for some of the most vulnerable citizens on Long Island. Our staff are as critical to the people we support as healthcare professionals are to patients in hospitals and in nursing homes, and they really truly come to work every day in the support of giving someone else the opportunity to live the fullest life they possibly can.
J.P. Morgan Chase, PSEG Long Island, and the Long Island Community Foundation have invested more than $1.5 million to create the first suburban iteration of a national program to help minority-owned businesses boost profits and employment. It's called Ascend Long Island, and it's housed at Hofstra and overseen by the National Center for Suburban Studies and our amazing partners at the Center for Entrepreneurship. Now, we've learned that minority businesses, as well as families, took the hardest hit during the pandemic. And while Ascend arrived on Long Island a year before the virus struck, we were able to adapt quickly and help our entrepreneurs save their businesses and the jobs they support.
The mission of the Center for Entrepreneurship is to support students, faculty, staff, and alumni, and regional businesses with building entrepreneurial skills. Many programs have more than half women and diverse founders. We have collaborated with the National Center for Suburban Studies for over the past 3 years in developing this program and have partnerships with the Frank G. Zarb School of Business, Bach Capital Corp., and community organizations and leaders. Ascend Long Island is primarily funded by J.P. Morgan Chase and also supported by the PSEG LI Foundation and the Long Island Community Foundation. Because of the pandemic and its disproportionate impact on communities of color, now more than ever, it is important to focus on supplier diversity. We hope to continue our efforts to strengthen Long Island's entrepreneurial ecosystem and also enhance the educational experience for students at Hofstra. We look forward to continuing to expand Ascend Long Island and supporting the growth of diverse businesses.
The Ascend Long Island cohort for 2019 included 19 cohort members, ranging in sectors from construction, utilities, healthcare, catering, signage, professional services, consulting, transportation, and also staffing. During the pandemic, we offered free workshops to diverse businesses on topics including crisis management, marketing, and managing finances. We've also done ongoing outreach and engagement with each cohort member, making sure that they are aware of all resources that are available to them. It is very important now more than ever to make sure that diverse businesses are having opportunities to contract with major corporations on the island. Our anchor partners are facilitating that growth, and partnering with Ascend Long Island makes it capable for contracting opportunities to happen. Our businesses are resilient, so they're looking to find ways to pivot their business, to continue to grow their business, to use other techniques that they hadn't thought about in the past, to continue on developing and growth and moving forward.
My company is Savvy Gems. Savvy Gems is a wellness company that teaches self-care, life skills, and entrepreneurship skills to teenagers. With the Ascend cohort, I was able to become financially savvy about my business. I received extensive digital marketing training, and most importantly, I received world-class mentorship. Many businesses had to figure out how to pivot through the pandemic, and the one business that stands out for me is Kier Solutions, a commercial and residential cleaning company. Kenya Osorio Wellington is the founder, and she was also part of the first Ascend cohort. She was an immigrant who overcame many challenges to become a successful entrepreneur. But when the pandemic hit, she lost every single client, but she continued to keep connected to her clients by calling them to make sure that they were okay. Kenya began educating herself on how to make her customers feel safe by following CDC protocols. She then focused on changing her marketing strategy, and she went from having 0 clients to doubling the clients she had pre-pandemic. Having been in the cohort and now being on the support side, I have an inside peek on the challenges that entrepreneurs face, so I feel better prepared to help and support them.
Hello, I'm Cornell Craig, Hofstra University's Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. The year 2020 has been a tragic and taxing year for many, as well as a year of contrast and clarity. From the tragedy, disparities, and disruption of the COVID-19 pandemic to the heartbreaking killings of Black citizens at the hands of police officers and the social response and collective activism that has followed. This year has had no shortage of examples of exacerbated social inequalities. This social environment impacts our campus community. Hofstra University maintains its standards and values as a diverse, inclusive, world-class institution of higher education. Delivering on these values remains consistent even as we've shifted toward a hybrid learning model for this academic year. We are also aware of additional work and effort that is needed at Hofstra and in the greater society to be more equitable and more just, especially to marginalized identities and underserved communities. It is the responsibility of each person and institution to continue to gain awareness around privilege, identity, and discrimination so we can remain vigilant and continue societal and interpersonal progress. Some of the steps we have taken at Hofstra are expanding diversity training opportunities for faculty, students, and employees. We have also established an online bias reporting system to report and respond to biased language and behavior on campus if it does occur. To help address disparities in access to technology, the universe has established the Hofstra Digital Divide Initiative through the Office of Development and Alumni Affairs to aid students with technological need. Appreciating and valuing the contributions of varied identities and perspectives is interwoven in true learning and education. And as Nelson Mandela so artfully stated, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Arman with Bethpage Federal Credit Union. I want to thank Larry Levy and Stu Rabinowitz for inviting me to participate in this year's virtual celebration of suburban diversity. Each year, we sponsor the essay writing contest, and we always look forward to reading the thoughts of our future leaders. They are always exceptional, and this year was no different. We want to extend our warmest congratulations to each winner. We wish you all the best of luck in your future. Thank you, congratulations, and have a wonderful evening.
Hello everyone, I'd like to start off by thanking the Center as well as the Bethpage Federal Credit Union for giving me this opportunity and supporting suburban diversity, especially during a pandemic. The pandemic has really hit hard for numerous families across Long Island, including mine. My story is really just one out of thousands in Long Island. So many people, groups, and communities have been affected. The foundation, the support that is keeping us is the close-knit bond that exists in the Long Island community. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity. Stay safe, stay sanitized, and wear masks. Thank you.
Just terrific. With students like these leading the way, how can we not have hope for the future? Even with all the divisions confronting us in this country, even with all the obstacles in our own communities, I can't help but believe that diversity, inclusion, and actual equity are not just pie-eyed ideals. They certainly are worth fighting for, and as we did tonight, celebrating. But before you go, please take the time to peruse the National Center for Suburban Studies website and be as generous as you can in support of our work. Thank you, and good night.